सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। We understand that we need to focus on doing the right thing and keep others happy. The mind or buddhi is like a software. It is built by experience of many years from childhood to adult. Buddhi cannot be changed in a minute. That is why people don't change easily. One of the practical ways to change the things that we can do every day to bring these changes. We have two faculties. One is called buddhi, that is intellect. It's called manaha, or which can be translated as the mind. So buddhi, even when buddhi understands, the understanding has to percolate to the level of emotion or mind. So understand we have these two faculties. Buddhi is called the intellect, thinking, knowing faculty. That is the mind, which is the feeling faculty. All our vyavahara is done at the level of mind. Meaning that what all understanding we have in the buddhi doesn't come into play unless that understanding has translated into the feelings of the mind. So that is why sometimes we find quite a variation between a person's thoughts and person's deeds. Because the doing is done by the mind, by the habitual faculty. So, buddhi may have formed the habit of thinking, but the mind has formed the habit of doing. And that is going on for quite some time. Therefore, to change the habits of the mind, to help the mind align with the understanding of buddhi, is a task that we have to do. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Uddharet Atmana Atmanam. May you lift yourself by yourself. The buddhi or thinking faculty, with that we have to constantly monitor the mind or the feeling faculty, habitual faculty, acting faculty. And you have to help the mind change its habits. So, now buddhi, the software, etc. is okay, but buddhi means understanding can change. It is difficult to change the habit. Mind is a habitual faculty, has been acting according to the habits that are formed from childhood, and that habit is difficult to change. First of all, it requires a recognition of need to change. Secondly, it requires a commitment to change or conviction to change. And thirdly, it requires a constant effort to change. And that's what we, all of us, have to do, because we get the understanding in these classes and elsewhere. And then to translate this understanding into our life, into our action, etc., is the effort that we have to make. Then the understanding or knowledge becomes beneficial to us when it is translated at the level of action. So, talking and walking. That walking should also be in alignment with the talking. And that is what requires effort for everybody. And as we refine our understanding by attending this and other classes, that has to be constantly used to monitor the mind, observe the mind, observe habits of the mind, and something may be all right, something may need to change, something may not be all right. Make a note of that and constantly work on that. So people don't change. There can be various reasons. One is, one may not recognize the need to change. Secondly, even when you recognize need to change, one may not have the tools. And third, having known what to do. So Pratipaksha Bhavana is a tool that Vedanta provides us, a Yoga Shastra. That anger may be a problem, and anger comes because I look at the person from a certain standpoint and I deliberately adopt the contrary standpoint. I cannot tolerate something in the person, then I deliberately develop a tolerating attitude. This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. Hatred is replaced by love, to whatever extent possible. So that is how we can slowly bring about change in our mind and therefore in our behavior. And that's how we get the real fruit of learning Vedanta. Otherwise, people keep on taunting us. Learning Vedanta for how many years? And one spouse attends Vedanta class, the other one does not attend, so other one gets a good opportunity. Is that what your Swami has taught you? Is that what you learned in the Gita? And so forth and so on. So, I guess when you attend classes, there is a greater responsibility. I don't attend classes, so I have no responsibility. You attend classes, so you should change. But whatever, if we change, it's for our own benefit. But it is true that change is difficult to bring about. It requires recognition of the need to change. Secondly, a conviction that I want to change. And thirdly, being alert about where the change is, monitoring the mind and recognizing change is needed, and knowing the tool to change. Pratipaksha Bhavana is one of those things. Isness or consciousness and body, mind, intellect are two different orders of reality. How does one understand consciousness using the tools of body, mind, intellect? With understanding at the level of the mind or intellect, is it not so? It is so. Understanding is the level of intellect. And that is where we have to bring about a change where if necessary. And so intellect is what can bring about the change. We get new understanding, apply to the present understanding of the mind and change it. So understanding at the level of mind, but then change also is near the level of mind. The problem also is the level of mind, understand? The ignorance is in the mind or intellect, and that is where the knowledge is to take place, and therefore the samsara is at the level of mind, and therefore the moksha also is for the mind. And so it's quite all right that our effort is at the level of mind. In case you need further clarification, please raise your hand. What is the purpose of having deerskin as asana? Well, the purpose that is explained to us is that when you meditate, then a certain energy is created in your body, and things like deerskin provide like an insulation, preventing that energy to flow away and retaining the energy within yourself. So that is the explanation given for using those kind of asanas, like the deerskin. In any case, it is not the right thing to sit on the bare floor. You must have some asana. And in the olden days, people were always in forests, and therefore this deerskin, etc., is something that would be more practical for them. Now I think deerskin and so forth, I don't think it's... Somebody gave me it, I don't want to use it, in fact, whatever reason. So somebody gave, deerskin and some other skin. I said, keep that away from me. Do Dvaitam and Vishishtadvaitam have the concept of Maya? If yes, can you please explain? Maya is the same everywhere. Aghatita Ghatana Patiyasi Maya. So Maya is that which can create an appearance of what is not there. Maya can be understood as magic. Like a magician creates an appearance of a $100 bill where there is just a piece of paper. So Maya or magic is that which creates an appearance of what is not there. Therefore the Vedantins explain that even this whole universe also is an appearance. What is from Brahman. As a scientist would explain, what we call matter is nothing but the waves of energy. So energy manifests as matter. You can say consciousness manifests as energy and then further manifests as the universe. So what we perceive is matter, or names and forms. What it is a consciousness manifesting itself as names and forms. And what is it? You would assign this thing to somebody or something. Our problems have to be assigned to something. So Maya is the thing. Maya has done this, Maya has created appearance, Maya is a problem. It is for accounting purposes. Have you heard the story of the 18th elephant? Some of you may have. Apparently there was a king, and he was very wealthy, naturally, he had elephants and horses and whatnot. So he made divisions of various things, and elephants were also divided among his 3 sons. Let me remember the arithmetic right. So the first son was to get half the number of elephants. Second one was to get 1/6 the number. Third was to get 1/9 the number. Half, 1/6 and 1/9. So everything else was distributed as the king had prescribed. When they came to elephant, they counted, there were 17 elephants. So how do we divide them into 1/3 and 1/9 and 1/6? And, they're all puzzled. And then the minister happened to pass by on his elephant. And they asked his advisor, take my elephant. He donated his elephant. So now we have 18. So one gets what? 1/6. One gets half? 9. 1/6. 3. 1/9. 2. So how much is that? 18 divided by half by 2 is 9. Other one gets 1/3, 6. Other one gets 1/9, 2. How many? So he donated one elephant. After distributing the way prescription was, one elephant was left, he took it back. So this is how they explain Maya. It's meant to not create confusion and problems, to solve this problem. Then you can't understand something, Maya, forget it and proceed further. When will one know that they want to take sannyasam? And when can one not take sannyasa? See, idea of sannyasa is not just renouncing something. Idea of sannyasa is first to discover self-sufficiency. Sannyasa means renouncing all the crutches and support system. You follow? When you renounce your family and whatever, you are renouncing support system. Not only physical but emotional support system also, understand. And that should be ideally done when you have discovered emotional self-sufficiency. You are self-sufficient. You can be by yourself. You don't need this and that, and mainly you do not need any emotional support. Because body is there, you may need food, some minimum that world will give us. They'll give us food, they may not give us pizza, they may give us what, drink, they may not give us coke and stuff like that, but basic needs may be satisfied, not cultivated needs. But emotional need nobody can satisfy. So let me say the sannyasa, if at all one has to take, is when one has discovered emotional self-sufficiency. You do not want someone to pat your back and how are you, this and that and stuff like that. As long as you need that, you better remain in an environment where you can get that. There's nothing wrong in receiving emotional support, but if that's a need, as long as we have that need, we cannot renounce the setup. We cannot renounce the support structure as long as the support is needed. So sannyasa is when one discovers emotional self-sufficiency. Secondly, when has trust in Ishvara, he will take care. Because ideally a sannyasi only is dependent upon Ishvara. He has given up all his support system. Not these days, but that was the idea of sannyasa. So emotional self-sufficiency and adequate maturity and trust in Ishvara and the system that I'll be taken care of. That is when sannyasa can be taken. You follow? Otherwise, sannyasa from home you go to an ashram. Now that's another problem, then we have to deal with that. If the person is not finished with that problems, then whether in which clothes you are, then the guru will have to deal with those things, Which is okay, but then that's not the idea of sannyasa. People have some fascination for sannyasa and they think by taking sannyasa something will happen, It is not that by getting a certificate you become an engineer. You get certificate after you become an engineer or doctor. It's like certificate. By getting certificate you don't become a doctor. When you become doctor, you get certificate. So by getting this you don't become a sannyasi. When you become sannyasi, Then if you get this, it's good for everybody, for you and for others also.
Can I ask you? So,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you. So this is not my question, but I have a follow-up. You said the one who's looking for a sannyas, they may not need emotional support from others. What about if others need his or her support?
Well, if that again creates an emotional disturbance in that person, then there is still connection remaining. If he feels guilty that I've deserted them, then again one is not free. Or you just walk out without any sense of guilt. Okay, there are people who do that. Leave them to themselves. But we may not recommend that you desert the people who are dependent upon you. But at the same time, you also do not depend upon others. Generally, not 100%, but overall, at least you gain sufficient ability to deal with your emotions, put it this way. That you may not be 100%, mature, but whatever emotions arise, you should deal with them, resolve them. How do I get rid of negative thoughts? By deliberately entertaining positive thoughts. No, that is the reason why we have japa, for example, When we say Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, we are planting a thought. And we are deliberately planting a desirable thought. The negative thought may not right away go away, but this is the way to plant a desirable positive thought and keep doing it so that a time will come when that thought may become dominant in your mind. Until then, we have to work with our mind. Now, what is meant by, I'm not asking, but what is meant by negative thought? Then maybe we have to understand our mind also. What is meant by negative thought? Is it low self-esteem? It is self-condemnation? It is desiring ill of others? So negative thought is one description, but then different thoughts may require different way to deal with. In general, you can say that negative thoughts can be dealt with by positive thought. If somehow in my mind there arises a thought of somebody is ill, let us say, then I take time to deliberately think of well of that person. So they may not, so identify some of the prominent negative thoughts, one or two, and work with them by deliberately entertaining positive thoughts. Meaning that there is a habit of thinking, and I want to create a new habit. Of course, reciting Ishvara's name and rituals and whatever, and of course Vedanta, all of these are certainly helpful. At the same time, at the level of mind, we should plant positive thought.
Namaskaram, Swamiji. In the same follow-up to the negative thought, positive thought, there's a problem in the community, let's say, meant,
No, I'm able to hear him. No, you don't hear? How?
yeah, hello? Yeah, it's working now? Okay. So, we live in this country, we hear oftentimes, and nowadays it's become pretty much very rampant. Everywhere you hear the gun violence and, all that happening. And the very first phrase that comes out is mental health issue. The negative thoughts, it's negative thoughts at the very, very bottom. Now, we can induce positive thoughts, japa, and all that. How can Sanatana Dharma or our Sanatana Dharma, is there any recipe to help somebody who does not know Sanatana Dharma? How do you said japa, prayers, chanting, it's within our community. Only we know that. A Christian may not know that. A Muslim may not know that. A Sikh may not, any other religion may not know. Atheist may not know that. Does not mean there is no chance that mental health issue come up in those communities. How, is there a recipe or is there a solution to help those people who do not know anything about Sanatana Dharma? And if there is, would that be a cure for many other problems that may have sort of a very underlying issue? And it has to happen fast also, right? You will not know the person who has negative thoughts, who walks into a school, walks into a mall, walks into a shopping center, and commits acts of violence. The negative thoughts are already in play, in action to commit certain things. Is there any solution? Has that ever been a problem in our community? And if that has been a problem, how has it been resolved in all of history?
Yeah, but you are taking one to the extreme case, We are talking about normal people with negative thoughts. Now you cannot equate them with gun violence and stuff like that. That's a different category of things. If you talk of you and I, this is what we said. Now one kind of negative thought is self-rejection, self-non-acceptance is a very common negative thought. And there is self-acceptance, self-respect. So begin from there. Self-acceptance, self-respect. And that will perhaps resolve a lot of things.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Let's first talk about these questions and then we'll come to that. How do I motivate myself to do my best without keeping the outcome in mind? Do I need some ego to do it the best, but do it with devotion? We are talking about the motivating factor. Usually, the outcome or personal reward is the motivating factor for me to do something. What is in it for me? Lord Krishna wants us to slowly change that to this motivating factor, what can I contribute? An action can be performed as a means of satisfying my ego or my needs, self-gratification, or same action also can be performed as my contribution. Action will be the same. The attitude can change. In one case, when it is for self-gratification, then the outcome is very important and I look up to outcome for the happiness. Same action is performed as my contribution, then action itself can become the source of happiness. Do you follow? So we want to change the motivation from waiting for the outcome to be favorable to gain happiness then, which is uncertain, make action itself as a means of gratification. Enjoy what you do. And when we do something for somebody, enjoyment is going to be easier. Enjoy what you do is one thing, but when what we do, we know that it's going to benefit this way, then our satisfaction from that action will be great. And so, action itself should become the source of satisfaction. To the extent that it happens, to that extent, the need for depending upon the outcome will reduce. It won't go away, but we want slowly the happiness to come from action. Right now, my happiness is based on outcome, which is in future, which is not in my control, which is uncertain. Action is in present, in my control. And therefore, I should learn to make action as a source of my gratification, source of my happiness, source of my satisfaction. How can you do a Swami, the sweeping and vacuuming? What satisfaction can you have? How can you make this work, action, source of your joy? My action is all monotonous, every day, same thing. How can you enjoy that? So that is where you have to use your creativity. Monotonous is our own branding of something. Every day is a new action. No, Swami, same vacuum cleaner, nothing is ever the same. Every day it changes. So stop branding it as monotonous, stop branding as boring, and keep the mind open and ask, in what way I can enjoy now my cooking, cutting vegetables. Because I remember enjoying those things, by the way, in remote past. It was a recreation. Swamiji it may be, but then it becomes every day cooking and cooking. But it can be recreation. Gardening is a recreation for people. Why cannot cooking be recreation? Why not vacuum cleaning be recreation? Why not? I'm just anything. It is an attitude rather than an action that makes it recreation, understand? Because there are gardeners who do their professional job. I don't think that they get recreation. It's a labor. And you may do that gardening, and that is a recreation. So it is a matter of our relationship with what we do and the attitude towards what we do. Is it not so? Meaning that we have to learn to get satisfaction from what we do, then the outcome will become less and less important. What our mind wants is happiness. If we gain happiness from action, then happiness coming from the outcome will become less and less important. Action is in present, is in your control. Outcome is in future, uncertain, not in your control. So why postpone the happiness for the outcome, which is again uncertain? And why not learn to derive happiness from the present, which is action? This is what Lord Krishna teaches. Live in the present rather than the future. Any question? How previous life karma decides the birth and lifestyle of the current life. The general rule is that everything that happens must have a cause. What we experience is the effect in the present, and the cause is in the past. So we are born, that's present. It must have a cause in the past, and that is karma. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect. Effect cannot be unless there is cause. Other than that, no other explanation. What karma did I do, Swamiji? When was that? There is no answer to anything. This is an explanation so that you don't get stuck. We get stuck. Why me? Why should it happen? And we get stuck there. Oh, you are also one of them, and this is also an effect. Some karma must be there. Except that people use this sometimes. They go to hospital to see a patient. Your karma that you are suffering. No, that should not go to that extent. But use this karma in a useful way. Karma is not meant to be disappointed, to be frustrated. Karma is meant to motivate. So this law of karma is equated by the Western as a fatalist. So these people are fatalists. They depend upon destiny. No. Bhagavad Gita is not destiny, it is purushartha. Destiny is something that we create by what we do. So what is destiny today was my self-effort in the past. So either you can look upon life as destiny, or you can look upon as self-effort. That's what Bhagavad Gita looks upon. Karmanyavadikaraste. Your self-effort is most important. That's what you are qualified to do, or that's what you're responsible to do. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Let karma phala not be your motivation. Let karma, your effort, your contribution be your motivation. So don't worry about karma and stuff like that. This is just given for explanation to proceed further, not get stuck. What karma did I do, Swami, to get this body? Nobody can tell you. Even if they tell you, there will be 10 other questions. When did I do that karma? Why did I do that? Give them the 10 more questions. And so, karma, whatever it is. So proceed further, don't get stuck. This karma, etc. is for helping people to not get stuck, that's all. Because Vedanta doesn't bother about karma, doesn't bother about destiny. Bhagavad Gita doesn't bother about destiny. Always bothers about the purushartha, the action by free will. That's what Bhagavad Gita teaches. Is unconditional love possible? How do you cultivate it? It is a goal that we are seeking. Unconditional love is a high bar. And we want to grow slowly to that. It requires growth. What kind of growth? Large-heartedness, forgiveness, willingness to let go, willingness to do without something on our part. So, this is what helps us to slowly make our love with less and less conditional. Unconditional is moksha. Unconditional love is moksha. And therefore, let us make our love slowly and slowly less and less conditional. It will be interesting to watch our mind. How in whatever we do, there is always some expectation of reward. That I love somebody because that somebody satisfies my requirements, my conditions. Atmanastu kamaya sarvam priyam bhavati. Upanishad says that what is dear to me is because it is helpful to me. When it stops being helpful, no more dear also. This is how the situation is. But then we train our mind to give up that habit of always trading, that I do this when you do that, etc. That's how the mind usually trades. And we go to Tirupati also, I'm offering this, oh Lord, you give me this, and then I give you this. Mostly people ask Lord to first do things. You get me job, then I will make this offering to you. So we want him to do first, But this kind of deal, our mind usually makes these deals. Does not do anything unless there is some personal gain. That's the habit. First, let us become aware of that habit in our mind. Understand the mind. And slowly then work with the mind. That look, this creates a dependence in you. When you make a demand upon somebody, you put a condition, means you're making demand upon somebody, then you are becoming dependent upon that. Then your happiness depends upon what that somebody does or does not do. So let the mind understand that expectations are binding things. And so, as much as we first recognize what expectations are there in the mind, and try to help the mind to let them go, and do with less expectation. Recognizing that expectation is the source of all pain. All sorrow arises on account of unfulfilled expectations. So whenever a mind feels sad, ask what expectation I had which did not get fulfilled. That we learn what expectations we have and learn to grow out of them. This contribution spirit is what helps us also to become free from need and dependence. As a rising college student with many challenges and hard work ahead, how do I apply the lessons of not aligning myself with the outcome of my actions on a daily basis? How do I motivate myself to work hard without the concern about the outcome? Well, the question is that even if you worry about the outcome, in what way does it help you? Worrying about the outcome does not help in any way. You can plan your action to achieve a certain outcome. Having done that, then let the outcome be out of your mind. You plan what you want to do, why you want to do, what outcome you expect. Having decided that, then focus attention on doing, and then outcome will take care because you can't control it anyway. So yes, there are challenges for the college students, there is hard work ahead, but try to make the mind understand that if outcome becomes motivation of my study, there are a lot of disappointment there. Hard work should become the motivation, my best performance should become the motivation, and since I cannot control the outcome, we'll accept what comes. We'll not accept any deficiency as far as self-effort is concerned. That is what you can commit yourself to and not judge yourself by outcome. My feeling is Karma Yoga was not easy. It was a lot easier to practice until graduation, until I got the degree. It did not matter if I got 60% or 80% score. Why it did not matter? I cannot agree with this. It did not matter if I got 60. It will matter very much. When you get the admission, if it did not matter, I think it's not right. It should matter to the student whether you get 60% or 80%. Makes a lot of difference. So I can't agree with the statement that it did not matter. I felt successful with no regrets or hurt guilt. 60% you were successful, 80% successful. That is great. That's a great sadhu. I had no regrets or hurt or guilt. You are lucky. Students have equal pressure. I mean, what do you mean? Not that only people who work in industry or, profession. Students have more equal pressure, if not more. Because their whole life depends upon a career they're able to create for themselves, and that depends upon your scoring. So why should 60% and 80% be equal? I don't know. Cannot be equal. 80% means you go to this school, 60% means you may not get that course even. When we passed, there were three things: engineering or medicine, that or science, commerce, stuff like that, that's all. Engineering only, mechanical, electrical and civil, that's all. So score mattered. Whether you have to go to commerce college or you can go to, other college, or you go to engineering or medicine or BSc or what. It always mattered. Scores always mattered. When we had very few alternatives, very few opportunities, but the scores always mattered. So I cannot accept that 60% or 80% does not matter. I think it should matter. It doesn't matter, make it matter for you. But as soon as working in a job started, there is continuous pressure to perform, and any mistake affects salary, bonus and career advancement. You agree with my assessment? It is likely. It may not be as bad as what you describe, Continuous pressure to perform, any mistake affects salary, bonus. If that is so, I think it is senseless. If the employers are so senseless that they punish the person for every little mistake he makes or he or she makes, that affects their career, salary, you are always keeping them under tension and under pressure, and person cannot grow. To create an environment of pressure, I don't think it's a positive or healthy environment for your employees, and I don't think that any intelligent employer should do that. Oh, Swami, dime a dozen, engineers are dime, they used to be told, engineers are dime a dozen, Doesn't work that way. You think they are dime a dozen, but every dime is not the same. I think it is senseless to pressurize and not value the people that you have. Use them only as an asset or as some kind of, If that is the attitude, I think it's a wrong attitude. You can never get loyalty from an employee. They will also look for an opportunity. Moment they get 10% more, they get, there's no loyalty, there's nothing. In that environment, nobody can be happy. So the employer always puts pressure on the employee, and employee puts pressure on the employer also. He may, this fellow may be lost at any time. If that is so, it is sad. It's a very unhealthy environment to work. It is not good for person's self-esteem or person's peace of mind or his performance. Swami, you say differences between Atma and Anatma is no problem, but as soon as division happens, samsara begins. Now, how to be unaffected and focus on unity when the other person does not respect you, is sarcastic, is hurtful? Also, we have limitations of body, mind, intellect. What to do if the other person demands more than you can do, even after trying hard? The only situation I can see is confront the person to change himself, or I will find another employer. This question is in the context of a workplace. It's an unfortunate thing that this is the atmosphere we have created in the workplace of keeping people under pressure. To extract the most out of them, keep them under pressure. I do not know if that is a right or healthy thing to do. Whether by creating pressure we can get most out of them, that also I do not know. But from this description, looks like that is the kind of environment that exists. They talk of human relations and lots of things are talked about, but this description doesn't seem to suggest that. And if that is the environment of work, I do not know, you have to only adjust and confront. If somebody is bullying you from this, then I guess you may need to confront them. And basically you have to become strong. The body, mind, intellect are limited, but we have to become strong in terms of our knowledge. What is under our control? To keep learning, to improve our skills, and in that sense we should always be active. To try to create our value for ourselves. Is there a question?
No, just the follow-up. So many times the employees.
One second, you can just get the microphone.
The definition of the pressure for the employee, sometime or most of the time employee has a so high expectation. Once upon a time, before pandemic, everybody used to go to the job for 5 days a week. That was not a pressure. When they got a job, they were happy. Now, to go to the job, so many complaints are coming that I have to go to the job for 5 days. Now, the expectation or the definition of the pressure, I know that when there was agroeconomics, people used to work at least 29 days out of a month. Then it became, in India, when I was working, it was a 6 days a week. Saturday, we had to go to the job. Now it became 5 days. Now Sweden and a couple of countries are coming with the idea of 4 days a week. So once it becomes 4 days, then going to the job for 5th day becomes a pressure. So sometimes the employee has to change their mind. What do they consider pressure? Going to the job for 5 days? Is it a pressure? So these expectations are getting changed. That's one of the reasons why so many people feel my job is a very pressure.
I think the pressure is in terms of demanding greater and greater performance. That you are doing, you are producing this much. What is pressure? Produce more. Produce more. What is pressure? Produce further more. I think pressure is in terms of demand that the employer makes on your productivity. And they are never satisfied with what you do, and so keep pressure so that they get more out of for them money.
I will a little bit disagree. Employee never be satisfied with what is given to them. And the pension benefit, not there. Medical benefit. Always it goes up.
I think it's both ways, perhaps. I think it's both ways. Okay. So let us have a bhajan before we conclude. You have to repeat after me. Okay, you can shut off the lights. And shut off this light also. जय जय राम जय रघुराम जय जय राम जय रघुराम सीता राम श्री रघुराम सीता राम श्री रघुराम जय जय राम जय रघुराम सीता राम श्री रघुराम पशुपति रंजन पावन राम पशुपति रंजन पावन राम पाप विमोचन तारक नाम पाप विमोचन तारक नाम जय जय राम जय रघुराम जय जय राम जय रघुराम सीता राम श्री रघुराम सीता राम श्री रघुराम पशुपति रंजन पावन राम पशुपति रंजन पावन राम Everybody join. पाप विमोचन तारक नाम पाप विमोचन तारक नाम जय जय राम जय रघुराम राम 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 Ram 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 Rama 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 Ram 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 You leave the lights off. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Shanti Shanti Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Now the lights can come on.